Okay, Assalamualaikum and hello everyone. So, ya, ibu nak teach abang kakak. Okay, so here in this video, I'm going to give you all a little tips on how not to make a careless mistake when you are writing a coding. But in order for you to avoid this careless mistake, the first thing that you need to master is you have to memorize the syntax of structure in C. So you have to know what is the syntax for looping for, selection statement, what is the syntax for input, output, and variable declaration. Okay, so let's say we are going to write a program today, a program which add up two integers. Okay, so basically when writing a code, we never write a code from line 1 by one until the last line. No, we write which part we can make first. Okay, so basically when you are writing a program, the first thing you have to put in your file, your code, is the basic structure of a program. So this is online compiler. You can use other online compiler if you don't have compiler on your laptop. Okay, so for me, I don't have any compiler in this laptop, so I'm using the online compiler. Okay, this one is available for free. So if you go to the compiler, when you are writing a code, you can see that this is the basic syntax in writing a program. So for example, in your test, the last question where you have to write a code, basically you, at least if you have no idea on how to write the working program, at least you should have the hash include, int main, opening and closing braces, and you must have the return 0. The main here never ever change from integer to double or what other data types. Okay, it returns a value which is here 0. So 0 is an integer, that's why we declare the data type of the value returned by the main function is int, integer. Okay, so here we can just remove this part of code. Okay, one more thing. I noticed that you guys understood comment as just to put notes in your code. No. Okay, basically comment is to give an idea to those who read your code what the program is all about. But in another way, you can also use a comment to help you troubleshoot which part of your program has error. Okay, so for example, we have this line 13, a printf statement. This is called as a statement because it is terminated with a semicolon. Okay, and let's say we don't want to remove this printf statement, but we didn't know whether we are going to use this part later or not. So instead of just cutting or deleting this part of the code, we can just make it as a comment. So you put double slash, or okay, this is the syntax for single line comment. If your code is just in one line, if you don't want it to be in one line, maybe you want to comment more than one line of code which come in sequence, you can put slash star and then put the closing star slash. So this is also a comment. Okay, so finish about the part of comment and basic structure of a program. So let's say we want to use a for loop to add two numbers. So what you should write, okay, instead of writing line by line, what you should do is first put the syntax of for loop. So the syntax for loop is keyword for, and then you put the opening and the closing braces first. Not by typing open and then I equal to 0 and then semicolon I plus plus. No. Okay, you shouldn't write code this way, because this will increase the probability of you making error in typing your code. So what you should do is, okay, just leave these empty braces, and then you should put the opening and closing curly braces. Sorry, I'm hot. I have to switch on my aircon. Okay. So you should have the opening and closing curly braces here. We have to put the opening and closing curly braces here if you have more than one line of statement to be put in your for loop. If you only have one line of code to be put inside the for loop, you can leave or omit these two opening and closing braces. So after you write this thing, then only you fill in inside your for loop, where you should have 2 semicolon. Okay, for loop never been written like this. There is no semicolon after this closing braces. There should be no semicolon here. I don't know why there are few of you, some of you, who put semicolon after these braces. This is not a statement. For is a control structure. Control structure has no semicolon except for the do while. Okay, so this is the part. So for looping for, we need to have one control loop variable as the counter. So you can either declare the thing outside here first. Okay, for example, INTI semicolon. Or instead of writing this way, okay, we make it as a comment first. You can also write it this way, INTI equals to 0. Okay. However, you should avoid writing a code this way, because it will be hard for people when they are reading your code to identify, okay, to recognize where do you declare your variable. Okay, so usually we declare variable at the top of the function body before we start our coding. Okay, so now just now we plan to add 2 numbers. So for the for loop, okay, to make sure that it has read means it's taking value from user input using scanf, because it says read. We are going to read a value. Okay, so we're going to need a scanf inside looping for here. And how many value do we need? How many times do we need to repeat the loop so that it takes 2 input value? Okay, if you start your INTI counter here with 0, your value should be I less than 2, which means it only count from 0 and 1. Okay, 2 is less than 2 is 1. So it will make the repetition 2 times for loop variable counter from value from 0 to 1. Okay, and then you put I plus plus here. We put plus plus because we need the counter value to increment, not decrement. We need it to increment so that we can keep track. After the first number, the counter value is add up, so that we know the next value for the next counter value is 2. Okay, the second number. Okay, instead of using value 0 here, you can also put 1, but you need to change the value here to be 3, because it will start reading from 1, it will stop at 2, it will never take input when the counter value is 3. So I less than 3 means I started with value 1 and stopped at value 2. Okay, so now we are going to write a statement to read input from user. So we need to use a scanf. So to write a scanf, okay, we write it this way. Scanf, okay, never write open double quote %d and all. No, if you write your code this way, you will have more chances on missing any of the symbols needed in the program. So how to write the code is put the syntax first. Okay, so scanf should be terminated by semicolon, and inside here we must have double quotes and we must have a comma to separate the variable name and the format specifier for the value that we are going to take. So we are going to take an integer value. So integer value we haven't declared yet. So now only we declare a variable of data type integer. Okay, the data type of integer, let's say we're going to name our variable as number 1 and number 2. So you must terminate with a semicolon. Now, the value of number 1 and number 2 we haven't initialized to 0 or any other value because the value will be initialized by this scanf. Okay, so the scanf will read the value and assign to the variable. Okay, that is why we never write assignment statement here when we are taking input from user. Okay, one more thing, after we add two values of number 1 and number 2, we want to display the value. So we're going to need one more variable to hold the sum value. So we need one more value of the same data type. For example, let's say the variable name is sum. Okay, but here the difference is you need to initialize the value to 0 because we are not taking any input value for sum. Okay, sum will be add up from number 1 plus number 2. It will be done by the compiler. It will not be done from the user end. That is why we need to initialize here when we declare the variable. Okay, instead of writing this way, okay, let's comment this part. You can also write your code equals to 0 this way. Okay, it is the same. Okay, so now let's start with taking input number from user, scanf. So for integer, our value is integer. So integer is using %d. Okay, and then after that, scanf, you need to put n% symbol, followed by the variable name, which value you are going to read in the format of %d. So in this case, we need two scanf, which is number 1 and number 2. So let's say we type here number 1. Okay, and then we need one more scanf value for number 2. We just copy this and paste, but don't forget to replace this as number 2. Okay, and then after you get these two values, we are going to sum up these two values. So we need to change here. Okay, sum is equal to sum equals to number 1. Okay. We don't need two variable, we need one. Okay, so sum equal to sum plus number. Okay, we need only one variable here. We are using dynamic code. We are not taking one number from user. So it should be int number and sum. And here it should be only one scanf because the for loop will repeat the thing. So here the thing will be int number. Okay, so now that we have write the for loop to take two input number from user and total up the number, next we are going to print the value of sum. Okay, so now we declared sum outside of the for loop, which means the value of sum is available inside the for loop and we can use it, we can print, we can change the value after the looping for. But if you declare your sum inside here, let's say you put int sum, okay, and you remove this and you put int sum equals to 0 sum. Okay, if you write this way, your sum variable will only be available inside this for loop. So after your program exit the for loop, if you try to print the value of sum, the value of sum will be unidentified. So you have to make sure, you have to know where you declare your variable, why you declare the variable at that place, so that you will know where you cannot reach the value of that variable and where the value of that variable is available. Okay, so now let's say we wanted to use the value of sum even from outside of the for loop. So we need to declare before the for loop, and we don't need this part, so we just comment it. Okay, now the next part that we need is a printf statement to print the value of sum. So the same as writing scanf, okay, put the opening and closing first, terminated with semicolon, inside double quote, separated by comma, because you are going to print value of variable sum. So you put sum here, and then here you need %d. So the same way as I'm writing this code, this is exactly the way how you should write your code on paper and in writing the code using your computer. Okay, never ever write from top to down. You will get more error and you will miss many symbols. Okay, so this is the sum. Let's say we want to print some text. Okay, the text, let's say we're going to print total of the two numbers is, okay, so let's say we're going to write this way, and we want to put a printf before the scanf. Why? Okay, if you are going to take any input using scanf, any value, never ever write scanf before a printf, because that will lead you to a blank screen where user have to enter the value first, then only they will see the instruction. So type the instruction first, display the instruction first using printf, then only you put scanf to read the input value. So let's say here we're going to write a text, enter an integer. Okay, and then okay, now we're going to need one /n here. Why are we going to need a /n? Because we need the loop to repeat 2 times to take 2 number. If you don't put /n here, everything will be displayed on the same line. Okay, we want the thing to start on a new line. So now let's compile our code. Okay, so we click the run here. It's compiling. Okay, now this is the output. Enter an integer. Let's say I put number 2. Okay, and then I press enter, because scanf you have to press enter, and when you are using scanf, after you press enter, the next thing will be print on a new line. This is different with Geiche. To use Geiche, after that you have to put your own /n. Okay, so be very careful what you press on the keyboard and what appeared after that on the screen. Okay, you have to be very careful so that you know how the things work and where it went wrong. Okay, so now I'm pressing enter. So it requests for one more integer. Let's say I put 4. Now I press enter once again, and it print the total numbers of the 2 is 6. So now, voila, we get a program without error, one-time writing code. So I hope this can help you to minimize the chances of you missing semicolon, missing opening and closing curly braces, missing this, missing that in your code. Okay, so that's all. Thank you.